Unlike Justin Trudeau, not everyone can afford $6,000 worth of groceries, especially during the Christmas season. So, here's how to make a cheap, easy, and rustic Christmas loaf that tastes phenomenal and anyone can make. Listen to this crunch. First, you're going to need a large bowl made with oil and gas products. I chose the color red for my bowl because we're still celebrating Christmas no matter what progressives want or say. It's great. Now, the secret to great bread is great bread flour. If I use all-purpose flour, my bread imitates my politicians. Uninspired, boring, and disappointing. Bread flour, on the other hand, gives bread that youthful spring and fluffy light texture that I want. Start by pouring 4 cups of flour into the bowl. This is my 4th cup. It's important that you sift the flour like you sift political candidates, vigorously and impartially. Now I'm adding just shy a tablespoon of salt, which, unlike oil and gas in Alberta, the government allows Canadians to mine for. Now I'm adding roughly 2 tablespoons of sugar and whisking the dry ingredients together to combine before setting aside. Next, take 2 cups of water, 1 cup cold, 1 cup hot. It should be about 100 degrees Celsius. Mix in a pinch of sugar and a tablespoon of yeast. I'm using instant yeast, so there's no need to let it bloom. Once mixed together and incorporated, pour the yeast mixture into your dry ingredients. Add a splash of olive oil and stir with a spatula to, like politicians mingling with big businessmen, incorporate each ingredient with the others. After the ingredients are roughly combined, wet your hand and knead the dough, only about 5 or 6 times. It's a sticky and hydrated dough, but that's alright, that's fine. It's supposed to be that way. Once you've formed a rustic and asymmetrical ball, grab some saran wrap, spread on some oil to prevent sticking, and now you have one of 2 options. Either you can do a 1 to 2 hour rise in a warm area, or you can do what I do and put this mixture in the fridge overnight. I find the bread is stronger and the flavors are more pronounced if the dough is allowed to saturate in a cool area for a longer period of time. The next morning, the dough should be inflated, but not as inflated as the money supply in our economy. Take the dough out of the fridge and give it another knead by grabbing the sides of the dough, pulling up and placing on top in the middle of the ball like I'm doing here. Cover again, let that come to room temperature, and allow it to rise for another hour or hour and a half. Meanwhile, grab your Dutch oven. Trace out some parchment paper to place at the bottom of the Dutch oven for when you cook your bread, and 30 minutes before your bread is finished rising, let your Dutch oven preheat in the oven at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, suit up in your winter armor because, like usual, the driveway needs to be cleaned. Once that's done, take the Dutch oven out of the oven, you'll need oven mitts, take your parchment paper from the counter and carefully roll the dough onto the paper before transferring, without burning yourself like I did, into the Dutch oven. Cover and put in the oven to cook for 30 minutes. Once those 30 minutes are up and the bread's comforting aroma has filled the kitchen, take off the cover and put back in the oven for another 7 minutes to caramelize and form a crust. The bread is cooked when it reaches 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Take your blue spatula that looks like a man and carefully transfer the loaf onto a cooling rack. Orient it in a way that will impress your in-laws and draw their attention to the section that looks like a stunning piece of cracked marble deserving to be part of the Parthenon. Once it's cooled, take a cutting board and cut your bread in any way that you choose. It's light, soft, crackly, and, after pretending you're a chef and arranging the halves like a sculpture, will be sure to wow your family and friends on Christmas.